Dead by Daylight seems to be getting more and more impressive. As summer dawns closer and closer, we have a licensed chapter with Five Nights at Freddy's 3, introducing Springtrap as a brand new killer. But it appears that, according to a roadmap, we are indeed getting another licensed chapter in November, featuring one new killer and 2 new survivors. And rumors suggest that this may have something to do with Resident Evil.
Welcome to Nest. Enjoy your visit.
So let's get into the video, but before we do, if you are new here, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And like the video to push us on out into that YouTube algorithm. You've heard that right, ladies and gentlemen. Rumors suggest Dead by Daylight will be seeing its 3rd Resident Evil full-on chapter come November. In the year of 2021, we were given our first Resident Evil licensed chapter that introduced Leon Kennedy and Jill Valentine from Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes as survivors, and Nemesis as a killer within Raccoon City Police Department, as well as skins for other related characters like Resident Evil 1's Chris Redfield and his younger sister, Resident Evil 2 Remake's Claire Redfield. 2022 came along and brought us the secondary chapter, Project W, introducing Resident Evil 2 Remake's Ada Wong and Resident Evil 0's Rebecca Chambers, while Resident Evil 5's Albert Wesker causes terror with Ouroboros by his side. Continuing the trend once more, adding purchasable skins for Resident Evil 2 Remake's Hunk, Resident Evil 5's Sheva Alomar, and Resident Evil 3 Remake's Carlos Oliveira. Eventually though, February 2025 came along and we were given not a chapter this time, but more purchasable skins. We got Resident Evil 0's Rebecca Chambers' 1997 STARS uniform, Resident Evil 4 Remake's Ada Wong, Resident Evil 5 Lost in Nightmare DLC's Jill Valentine, and Resident Evil 6's Leon Kennedy. On the killer's side, we got Resident Evil 3 Nemesis's Nemesis, and Resident Evil 4 Remake's Albert Wesker. So this all just leaves us with one question. If Dead by Daylight sees another Resident Evil collaboration, where do they go from here? From what I can see, this relationship has begun around Resident Evil 2 Remake to Resident Evil 4 grounds, later turning into Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 5 grounds, while after that, grounding Resident Evil 4 Remake to Resident Evil 6 territory. So the way I see it, it only has one direction to go, and that is Resident Evil 6 to Resident Evil 8 Village territory. So my dream contents that I desperately hope to see in this alleged November chapter for Resident Evil, survivor-wise, I want to see Ethan Winters and Sherry Birkin take center stage. I feel like they'd make quite the interesting combo, especially when you put into account their regenerative abilities.
So, you always been like that? The whole healing thing?
No! You're wrong. I tried to keep this a secret, but you don't understand how special he is.
Bring on the blondes, ladies and gentlemen. It's also mentioned that we'll be seeing a single killer, which leads me to suspect Jack Baker will be filling those shoes. And along with that, a map of the Baker's estate, and a few purchasable skins like Resident Evil 4 Remake's Ashley Graham, Resident Evil 5's Chris Redfield, Resident Evil 6's Chris Redfield, Sherry Birkin, Ada Wong, Carla Radames, and Resident Evil 8 Village's Ethan Winters skins. I feel like Jack Baker variants would also be pretty cool to see. So yeah, that is my dream scenario for this November licensed chapter, a chapter led by our other pinnacle blonde characters. Not only do we have rumors suggesting a 3rd Resident Evil chapter, but I've also noticed an interesting detail. So during February 2025, Dead by Daylight has introduced not only new Resident Evil skins, but also a limited time 2v8 game mode. Now, if we look closely here, this November chapter will also feature another return of the 2v8 game mode, something that Resident Evil has put on display earlier this year. So using that logic, I could definitely see light shed on these rumors, especially bringing back that Resident Evil themed 2v8 game mode. And if that happens to be the case, that would be amazing. And if we were able to get a fourth and final chapter in the future, I'd absolutely love to see it potentially introduce Resident Evil 6's Helena Harper, Pierce Nivens, Jake Wesker, and Resident Evil 8 Village's Rosemary Winters as our lead survivor pack, featuring Lady Dimitrescu as the killer in a map of Castle Dimitrescu. While at it, featuring the last bit of skins we'd be missing for some characters, like the opposite variants of Resident Evil 6's characters, Resident Evil 8 Village's Chris Redfield, and hoodie variant Ethan Winters. I could also see a few skins of Resident Evil 0's Billy Cohen, Resident Evil 1's Barry Burton, Resident Evil 2 Remake's Mr. X, and Resident Evil 4 Remake's Louis Sierra, over top of someone. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, just consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, tell me what you thought. What 1 killer and 2 survivors do you think are coming in November? And what are your thoughts on my dream scenario? And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.